Previously on Automotive Tales.
Get the ionised water in. So doing the job properly rather than just using tap water.
Okay, so the Volvo is done. Time for another sort of large executive vehicle to see some attention. So you will recognise this. This is my daily driver, the Audi A6. It has just been through its MOT, which was a little bit painful. And a reminder to always check your balls, gents. So for context, we had loose ball joints on either end of the steering column. So both of the track rod end ball joints basically were knackered. So those had to be done, drop links had to be done. But because of that, the tyres were either running a little bit out this way or that way. I'm not sure which. I think it was toe in, toe out. And while we had new tyres fitted about a year ago, they were completely smooth on the inside, even though they got loads of legal tread on the outside. So she's had ball joints, drop links and new tyres, as well as then having a service and MOT. And since then she started winking and she appears to have a case of pink eye. So as we've been driving along, and actually there was a bit just before I started recording where it went off and came back on again, this headlight is being very intermittent. Now on the earlier version of the A6 C6, case in point, there's a three-part module that runs that xenon headlight that sits in there. There is the ballast, which sits underneath the headlight unit, which requires the headlight unit to come out. There is the igniter, which sits on the back of the bulb, and then there's the bulb itself. Luckily, this is a post-mid facelift, so it's got the newer headlights in, which means it's got the igniter and the bulb as a single unit, which is really, really helpful for once. Because the bulbs you can get off the shelf. The igniters you cannot, but you can get the combined igniter and the bulb kit, which is what this needs. The only problem with that is they're about £55 each. And because I want matching headlights, this headlight job is going to cost me over £100 to replace just two bulbs. This is the problem, and this isn't even a modern car, but this is modern to me, £100 to change headlight bulbs. I'm used to it being like £10. What is that all about? I dread to think what it's like if it has LED dipped and main beams. It's bad enough with the xenons. Right, I am going to pop the bonnet. I've got to take a load of stuff out from underneath here so that I can get to the back of the headlights, pop those bulbs with the igniters out, which I'll show you in a minute, huge, great big things, and pop the new ones in. And then hopefully she'll no longer have stink eye. Okay, I haven't fetched the microphone, so hopefully it's not too windy for this bit. But I have now replaced this one, which is the offending article. So I'm just going to power it up and see whether that's done the job. And then we'll get on and do the one over here, which is a bit more involved because the airbox has to come out. And then I'll show you on the bench in the workshop, which is here, what is going on with all of this. It's actually a really clever little system. Okay, result, you will see we had nice blue, almost matching headlights, but there is definitely a difference left to right with this new, well, it's a Lucas Prince of Darkness bulb, and I think these ones in here are Phillips bulbs, because the one that came out of here was as well. So we're going to have to take the Phillips one out, we'll keep that as a spare, and we're going to run a pair of Lucas Prince of Darkness. Okay, so driver's side, this is the back of the headlight here. So you can see how we're orientated, and you can see this is the xenon projector, but with the LED strip down the bottom here. Now to get to this one, you can actually get to the back panel. It's this sort of shinier black plastic here because I've had my fingers on it before.
But the best thing to do is to take this bottle out. Well, you don't have to take it out. You need to undo the TX40 here. Watch out for the little insert that in there in the bracket doesn't drop out when you take the bolt out, because there's a threaded hole at the back. You can then maneuver this bottle out of the way, and you can manipulate this bracket just enough that you can pop that panel out, which looks a little bit like this. So it slots in at the bottom, that's upside down. It slots in at the bottom like that and clips up. So you've just got to release these clips here. They're surprisingly tight, but you push down on the back of there. If it's not moving, you can actually get a screwdriver through the very top here, which will just free that off, and that will drop backwards, which will allow you access to the bulb, which is the same as the one I have uncovered over here. Now, to get to this one, not as easy as you might think. Unfortunately, that is the bottom of the airbox, the air filter, top of the airbox. So you've got to start by doing the 2 crosshead screws here. Then you'll need to undo the little Jubilee clip that goes onto the tube going into the intercooler, which will release the airbox, and you need to disconnect the MAF sensor, and that just pops out once it's undone, but you need to get the top off first. So wiggle it out from underneath here, pull the top off, get the air filter out. We actually don't have to get the air filter out, you can pop it off without it, but it's easier with that out of the way. And then this exposes the space down here, which you can now see in here. So I have already taken the bulb out. This is the connector for the bulb. It's a little square connector that sits at the bottom with its little green plastic plug, and the bulb goes in just there. Now I'm going to go to the bench and show you what this looks like. But one thing you need to note about the driver's side, this is in the UK for a right-hand drive car. I assume it's the same for the passenger side. Apologies if you can hear the squeak. My camera mount is squeaking against the rubber of the bonnet seal. This plate that goes over the back is what I would call upside down. So on the driver's side here, it actually slots in at the top, and the clips to release it are at the bottom. So you have to have the airbox out so you can get in underneath here. There's loads of room once the airbox is out, and release these clips at the bottom, which allows this to come up and out. So basically the upside down version of the other side. Clearly they've reused a part and just turned it upside down, but it's slightly annoying because normally the clips will be at the top where you can get to them and they flip down that way, but instead it's at the bottom and flips up that way. Right, to the bench. Okay, we are on the bench in the workshop. So you'll see this is the plastic cover I've taken off from the back. So once that's out of the way, you will see the back of, well actually you'll see the back of one of these. So this is actually, this bit here is the igniter. This bit here is your xenon bulb. Now, I'm going to just use this one for a minute, and I'll explain why in a second. On the slightly older model, these are actually 2 separate units. So the bulb is separate, it just slots in and clicks into the igniter. But if the igniter is failed or the bulb has failed, you might have to place one or the other. Now the problem with that is you won't necessarily know which one has failed. So with these ones, you might have to replace the bulb first and check it's not the bulb that's failing. And if that doesn't work, replace the igniter. There's 2 different types of igniters on the older ones. There's ones that look metal like this. They're actually slightly bigger with a rounded case. And there's some black plastic ones. As it happens, the black plastic ones are the same as the metal ones. The metal ones just have this case on. I think this is actually plastic underneath here. So this is like a protector, a little case that wraps around it. The reason for that is while your car runs on 12 volts, these run on, hold on, let me check. It doesn't say on here. I think it's about 400 volts these run at. So they're a super high voltage. So basically what you've got is an electric arc, which is what gives you that bluey light in the headlight bulb. So these are super dangerous. So you have to make sure the ignition is off before you start messing with these, because they can give you a hell of a belt. So make sure your ignition is off before you unplug it. Now, when you find this in the back of your headlight behind this panel here, it will be like this. So you will see the back of it. The connector is on the underside and it just pulls out. There's no fancy clips on this. So you pop the connector out and it will twist. I think it's anti-clockwise. It'll twist about a quarter of a turn, maybe an eighth of a turn, and then it will pop clean out. Obviously, be very careful as you're pulling it out because you have got a long glass bulb on here, so you don't want to break that, and it with bits going into the headlight, so you have to pull it clean out. But when it comes out in the Audi, it will come out looking like this. So this is what the standard bulb looks like. This particular one is a Philips Zen Start. The ones going in are Lucas ones because that's all I could get from Halfords. So this is what they look like when they come out of the box. This is what they look like when they come out of your car. Now, at first I panicked that I got the wrong bulb, but what I realised is there's an adapter on here, and it's very cleverly designed so that all you have to do is pull that little clip, pop him out, and he just slides off. And when you get your new one, orientate it the same way. That goes in there. That should just lock in there. It's a little bit fiddly to get the first two little lugs in, and then boom, there's your new one ready to go in. And then all you do is you place that back into the car. It will lock into place, and then your connector goes back underneath. And there's plenty of room behind this panel to do all of that. I'd recommend getting a light into the little well that's opened up by the airbox. And there's a bit of space around when you've moved the power steering bottle on the other side, the passenger side, to get a light in there. You really see what you're doing, because these are quite fragile. You don't want to tap this or damage or break the bulb putting it back in, because these are expensive. If you've got the one that's split with the igniter and the xenon, the aftermarket igniters are about £30, give or take. And the bulbs running at a similar price are about £20, £25. These entire units anywhere from £50 to £60 currently. This is in 2025. So yeah, that is an expensive unit. So the last thing you want to do is smash that bulb. Now, I need to be very careful, because these are actually both the old bulbs. This is the dead one, I think. And this is the good one. No, because I've just changed that over. So this is the dead one. And that is the good one. So I'm going to keep that to one side, because I will keep that as a spare, and I'm going to need that for my new Lucas bulb. Right, we have our new Lucas for Halfords. It's a D3S is the bulb. It's a HID, it's a xenon bulb. And you can see the picture in the box looks about right. And you compare it to the old ones. So I'm not taking any chances with getting any oily fingerprints on these bulbs, because they are so expensive. Let's see if we can get him. I had to destroy the package last time. They don't make it very easy to actually get the bulb out. But it's quite nice to see that it's like double wrapped. It's got this little protective case around it. So we can just go with that. So this is our new one. So you can see my immediate panic is when that was wrapped around the old bulb, it did look a little unusual. But this has the same little notches on here, which means if I can remember which way around this goes, there is a notch just there, and a notch just there, and voila, I have my new bulb with his new collar on, ready to go back in the car. And now we're going to have matching, you can't see the packaging anymore, matching Lucas Prince of Darkness headlight bulbs, and one spare, which ideally would have gone back in that box had I not just utterly destroyed it like an absolute moron. So I need to find a way of protecting that, and that's going to go somewhere to live as a spare, because if another one fails, for the sake of 50 quid, I'll have slightly different coloured headlights. But I thought I'd at least start with giving it a fighting chance. Right, put it back in the car. Okay, 8th return, that's all clicked in. Little green connector then just slots into the bottom there. So you can see the little connector in the bottom. You see how that is now square to the headlight. It's sort of vertical and horizontal on the faces after it's turned. So a clockwise and 8th return back in. Now I've got to do is put this panel back on and then reassemble everything. Fixed it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Look who's back. Unfortunately, not sounding very happy.